welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin, and I am so excited that you decided to take time out of your day to spend with me because today we are going to do a recent reads type video. So, we're going to discuss all of the books that I read in June and July. And y'all, there were some bangers and there were some misses, to put it nicely. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about these books. Yeah. So first, I'm going to do a little bit of a wrap up of each month. So let's talk about some stats. So in the month of June, I read 9 books, and that totaled to 3,588 pages. And my average rating for the month of June was a 3.94. So June was a very good reading month for me. Then moving into July, I'm looking down at my laptop, by the way. I read 6 books in July with a total of 2,738 pages read, and my average rating for July was a 3.92. So, look, June and July, like I said, we had some bangers, which is really great. I feel like these last 2 months I've had a lot of misses, but I feel like I've had more hits than misses, and that's always the goal for me. So, as far as formatting for this video, I decided that I wanted to rank all these books from best to worst. Actually, it's going to be worst to best because we always say the best for last, right? All right. Anyway, so we'll be going from number, let me math, 15? Yes. So we go from number 15 to number 1 and discussing each of those. But before we do all that, I want to talk about the DNFs that I've had these 2 months because the number was quite more than I wanted it to be. And one thing about me, I'm going to DNF a book. I don't care if I'm on page 5 or if I'm on page 273. When I'm done, I am done. I do not force myself to read books that I'm not enjoying. And that kind of keeps me from having like 1 stars or 1.5 stars. Because if I'm just truly not enjoying the experience, what's the point? What's the point? There is none. So, yeah, let's talk about these DNFs. So, our first DNF is Scorpica by G.R. McAllister, and this is the first book in the Five Queendoms series. My problem with this was that I just could not connect. It bounced around to too many different characters before I had a chance to even grasp what was going on with the other character, and it was just kind of hard to tell who was who and what was what. And then by the time that I felt like I actually got invested in one character, we moved on to somebody else. And I just found myself having a hard time connecting to the characters in this book. And I'm really sad about that because I really wanted to enjoy this, but that did not happen. I just think that this was a case of not for me. I don't think it was a bad book. The writing style was fine, just not for me. The next DNF is They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, and I really thought that this was going to be a hit for me. I don't think I actually got really far in this book because again, could not make myself care. I just felt like it was weird and not in a good way. English professor Dr. Clark, I just, to keep this nice, short, and sweet, I just could not make myself connect to these characters. I didn't even really care about where the story was going or trying to figure out what was what. It just wasn't for me. Our next DNF is Gilded Wings by Jamin Eve, and this was shit. And I hate to say that because I don't like to be just overtly negative about a book. I just felt like this wasn't really sensitive, and using words like rapey, I no. Big red flag, no. But then you're also talking about on the flip side of that using words like romantasy. And I know this book just came out in November of 2023, but there is no way I want to read a book that is using the word romantasy. You can keep it. And the story was really weird. So we follow this girl. I don't even remember her name, but she works in a library and she gets a call saying that one of the books have been stolen from a library and you need to come figure this out. So she's like, oh shit, don't want to get fired, but they're not supposed to return to the library at night. So she's like, either way, I'm screwed. So I'm just gonna go see what's up. And she ends up finding out that her best friend, along with everyone else that visits the library at night, are Fae, and they are using, you know, this as like a portal to their world, and they're just here to like gain power, have fun, blah blah blah, whatever. And almost immediately she gets pulled into this weird sexual ritual that lasts for 30 days with this man. And it was just weird, and this book made me feel really uncomfortable, and I just couldn't do it. This one is one that I do not recommend. I feel like the other ones were, you know, just not for me, and I just didn't connect with it for whatever reason. But this one right here was bad, and I do not recommend this one. And I hate being that way, but I am always going to give you honest reviews, and that is my honest opinion. Don't pick it up. Next up, we have Thank You for Listening by Julia Whalen. And I didn't have a problem with this. I thought it was okay. I just put it down and never felt the urge to pick it back up because I guess I didn't really care. It was fine. I was listening to it on audio while I was diamond painting, and it was fine for that. But once I was done doing that, I didn't feel the urge to go back to the story to see what was going on. I honestly don't even remember fully what this is about. And those were all of my June DNFs. And so now we're going to move into my July DNFs. And the first one was Unladylike Lessons in Love by Amita Murray. I picked this up for my historical romances reading vlog that I did. And my only problem with this one was that it just wasn't what I was expecting. It's not really my speed of books, usually what I like to read. So that was my only problem with it. I don't think the writing was bad. I just think it was more grim than what I was looking for. Okay, sorry if that angle changed or whatever. My microphone died. Had to go swap it out. Okay, this book is a combination of romance, suspense, mystery, um, that type of thing. And that's not really my vibe, but that's the only problem that I have with this book. I did read about 25% of it, and I thought that the writing was cool, the storytelling was fine. And if that's your thing, then I think you will enjoy this. It is a little more grim and a little more crude than I was expecting, but if you go in knowing all of these things, then I think if it sounds good, you might like it. Then we have Camp Zero by Michelle Mann Sterling. And this vlog has not seen the light of day yet because I am moving so slowly, but I was doing a taste test of some sci-fi books, and this was on there, and I just didn't like it. Didn't really find it interesting. It was a little confusing, but I just didn't find myself wanting to know what was coming next or anything like that. So I just felt that it was in my best interest to DNF this. Then we have probably my most two disappointing books, probably maybe of the year, but definitely of the last 2 months. And the first one would be An Intrigue of Witches by Esme Addison. And this has been compared to like Indiana Jones and also National Treasure. And even though it's something different from what I usually read, it's like a mystery fantasy type, I thought that I was going to enjoy it because I was a National Treasure girly back when I was a kid. And I thought I would give it a shot, and I thought it would be interesting. And while it was, I felt that my problem was it was just so slow and so history heavy that I couldn't even breathe. And I just found myself not wanting to pick it up. I was over 100 pages into this, and I feel like the story was just beginning. And I'm like, whew. Like I said, I was over 100 pages in, and we were just now getting to that. And I did find like the puzzles and riddles within the story were very interesting. There's a lot of Black history along with American history as well. And yeah, like I said, it was just a little too slow. And finally, goodness gracious, I feel like I've been talking forever already. We're at our last DNF, and y'all, this one hurt. This hurt me so bad because I just knew, I fully knew that this was going to be 5 stars. Easily in my best books of the year, maybe even all time. And I ended up DNFing it. And that is The North Wind by Alexandria Warwick. And this book follows, I think her name is Ren, our main character, Ren, and they live in this place that is like desolate at this point. Like it's just dead. There's no livestock and everything is just died out and iced over. Ren has a twin, and she basically takes care of this twin because she feels like she's too soft for life, so she does everything for her. Ren is out there hunting, she's out there doing whatever, and even like selling her body just so they have food and can live. And that leads Ren to essentially be an alcoholic. And so there's this drawing that happens when the Frost King decides to come and take a wife, and everyone just assumes that the Frost King kills all of his wives, so they just believe that they're sacrificing a person over to him. And there's a drawing of all of the of age girls, but Rena's not included in that because she has a scar on her face, so they don't think she's beautiful enough. But anyway, they're at this dinner with all of the girls who were pulled in the lottery, and Ren makes a scene and makes the Frost King choose her sister. But she was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. So Ren decides to swap places with her sister, and the Frost King does not figure that out until they are already at his palace. And Ren's purpose in this is that she is supposed to learn all she can about the Frost King and kill him. I have never been more confused than reading. There was so much going on that I just did not understand, and it might have been explained, but I was so far into this that I feel like I should have not been as confused as I was. I hated this from page one, and I was pissed off about it. But I was also like so sad that I was like, I'm gonna keep pushing and I'm gonna keep pushing, because once I realized that I didn't love it, I was like, well, maybe I'll just at least like it. And I pushed on to, I know it was over 100 pages through, might have been closer to 2, I don't remember. But eventually I just had to give up, and this one hurt. Because, like I said, I had strong feelings of dislike. It wasn't even like, this is just not for me. I'm like, sucks. What are we doing? Why are we here? I don't even know what's going on. And I just kept trying. I kept trying, and it just did not work. So, yeah, biggest disappointment, hands down, of the year, The North Wind. Anyway, moving on to much lighter, brighter, happier things. Let's get into this ranking. So we'll go from 15 to number 1 based on my least liked to my most favorite book of June and July. Starting off at number 15, we have Kingdom of the Feared by Kerri Maniscalco. And this was okay. Yeah, this was okay. Another interruption. But we good. Okay. From where we started with Kingdom of the Wicked, this is definitely in a different place for sure. And I preferred the YA-ness of the Kingdom of the Wicked, and also just the storyline I felt was better. These felt like a different storyline, and also very much giving spice, and a lot of spice at that, and very interesting spice. It's not like I didn't enjoy it. It's just I wasn't expecting that from this, and I probably would say that this one was my least favorite of all 3 books. You don't know what this series is about. It follows twin sisters Victoria and Amelia. Amelia eventually finds Victoria murdered, and she goes on this quest, not necessarily quest, but I can't think of a better word, to figure out who killed Victoria. And she ends up summoning a demon prince, or a prince of hell, Wrath, who teams up with her to figure out who's going around killing witches. And that's all I can really say. I can't even really tell you anything about this one because it is the last book in the series. But anyway, yeah, this ended up being a 3 star for me. And yep, just fine. Number 14 on the list is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. And I think I rated this a 3 star. Bound in an unwanted marriage, Freya spends her days gutting fish, but dreams of becoming a warrior and of putting an axe in her boorish husband's back. Freya's dreams abruptly become reality when her husband betrays her to the region's Jarl, landing her in a fight to the death against his son Bjorn. To survive, Freya is forced to reveal her deepest secret. She possesses a drop of a goddess's blood, which makes her a shield maiden with magic capable of repelling any attack, and it's been foretold that such magic will unite the fractured nation of Scotland beneath the one who controls the Shield Maiden's fate. So basically, yes, everyone is trying to control Freya, and she's just fighting with all her life to be who she wants to be and to get to do what she wants to do, as well as discovering her powers because she has had them hidden her whole life. And yeah, this was fun. I found myself a little disconnected from the characters. Like, as much as I was rooting for Freya and as much as I wanted her to win and to get to do and be who she wanted, I just found myself a little disconnected and sometimes not even really caring about what was going on. I did like the banter with Freya and Bjorn. It was really cool. There's a reveal in this book that I think it's not done the best because I guessed it immediately. And even when I guess things immediately, if it's done in a good way, I can look over that. But I don't think this was done in a good way. But like I said, this is a pretty good story. It is Viking, I think, or Norse. Is it Viking or Norse? Norse inspired fantasy romance. And so that was different for me, and I enjoyed aspects of that. I listened to the audiobook along with physical reading, and that definitely helped me with a lot of the pronunciations of words in this book because your girl was struggling. But yeah, this was just fine. It wasn't great. Number 13 on the list is Dragon Fruit by Micaiah Lucier. And this is a YA fantasy book about a girl who, y'all, I've read some of these books like at the beginning of June, so the synopsis is where gone. Hanale is the cherished daughter of an old island family. When her father steals a sea dragon egg meant for an ailing princess, she is forced into a life of exile. In the years that follow, Hanale finds solace in studying the majestic sea dragons that roam the sea until one day an encounter with a female dragon offers her what she desires most, a chance to return home and to right a terrible wrong. Sam is the last remaining prince of Tamarin, but he can never inherit the throne, for Tamarin is a matriarchal society. With his mother ill and his grandmother nearing the end of her reign, Sam is left with 2 choices: to marry or to find the cure for the sickness that has plagued his mother for 10 long years. So this is basically Hanale and Sam, who are childhood friends, teaming up to find the dragon egg that will save Sam's mother. And this was really fun. It was really interesting. It's inspired by Pacific Islander mythology, and that was new to me. So I had fun, learning about the mythology and just the culture that was represented in this book. I ended up rating this a 3 star, and I'm definitely not faulting this book for what it is because I am not the targeted demographic for young adult books, and I'm aware of that. So I can't fault a book for being what it is. This was so good. It was so different than what is out right now, and I had a great time despite it rating a little young for me. And I do think it's very age appropriate YA. This is a great read for someone of that age, and I had a fun time with it. So 3 stars for Dragon Fruit. Moving on to number 12, we have Storm and Shield by J.D. Evans, and this is the second book in the Mages of the Wild series. LOL at both of my microphones being dead right now, so I'm just kind of struggling. So if you see the angle change or anything like that, that is why. Oh yeah, we were talking about number 12, which is Storm and Shield. So I'm going to read a little bit of the synopsis. She is Lightning and Storm, a spy driven out of her home by a tyrant ruler. He is granted in Earth a guard ordered to keep her contained. To protect herself and her family, she's learned to go unnoticed, unseen. Suddenly, a refugee in a land that was once enemy and now must be home. She isn't certain where she belongs or what her duty is beyond her family. She can't protect them alone this time, but the only man who can help her is the only one she cannot ask. War will force choices for both of them. She to remain the spy or stand and lend her powerful, untamed power to the Sultana of Tamar. He to remain a loyal, unquestioning guard or learn to trust his instincts and his heart. There are magic and opposition, earth and sky, steady and mutable. One immovable as stone, the other fast as wind. Balance sometimes is chaos. My only issue that I really had with this book is that it was very repetitive and it just felt like it was cycling over and over. Just her getting into situations, besting the guards, him having to go get her, and all of that. And one thing that I had issue with for sure in this was I do not like when books harp on the size of the love interest. Like, oh, she's so small and he's so big and he's so big and she's so small. Like, that's weird. It's giving weird. Yeah, I don't like that. But I did love how our characters from the first book were really involved in this one and how this plot is just building and carrying along. Yeah, this book was okay. I think I gave it a 3.5. Like I said, it was fun. It's very much political intrigue. So if you're looking for a fantasy series like that, you might enjoy this. And moving into number 11, we have A Touch of Malice by Scarlett St. Clair. And this is the third book in the Hades and Persephone saga that just is Persephone's point of view, but in the overarching 7-book series, this is, let me count: Darkness, A Game of Fate, A Touch of Ruin, A Game of Retribution, 5. Yes, this is book 5. So there's not much I can say about this. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling where Persephone has been moonlighting as a mortal. She's gone to college. She has studied journalism. And her friend somehow gets an invitation to Hades' club. And she ends up meeting him and falls into a bargain with him to create life in the underworld. And the problem with that is that everything Persephone touches dies. So we just go from there. And of course, this is a romance. But this book mainly is about how the other gods are reacting to Hades and Persephone, specifically Demeter, and how she feels about their relationship and if they're going to be able to be together, blah, blah, blah. Can't really say too much more than that. This one was okay. I feel like at this point, though, some of the spicy scenes are becoming redundant because this one just felt like there were more spicy scenes in this one and they were more frequent. And I mean, there's only so much you can do with a spicy scene before it's just like, okay. I definitely like this one more than A Touch of Ruin when Persephone was acting a fool and getting on everybody's nerves. So she has definitely calmed down and has gotten it together a little bit more in this one. And I ended up rating this, I think it was like 4-star, but number 11. In the number 10th spot, we have A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. And this 8, like, Holly Renee is definitely becoming one of the romantasy authors that are up there for me. I've read The Veil Kingdom, ate that up, and then I went into this book and ate this up. She can write an arrogant, cocky man love interest, and they're going to give. And Everin gave for me in this one. Okay, so let's talk about it. So our main character, let me look this up, y'all, because the way that I am so awful with names, it's not even funny at this point. It's embarrassing. LOL at the synopsis not telling our main character's name. Okay, but anyway, let's go. So our main character has this special type of blood. Yeah, so she has a special type of blood or something that leaves like markings all over her body, and the Fae believe that her blood will strengthen their powers. And so her mother basically sold her off for money and a better life. And so they came and got her, and she's taken to the palace because she is betrothed to the crown prince. But she ends up meeting this guard, commander of the guard, and they, start this little flirtation or whatever. And then she ends up finding out that he is actually the brother to the crown prince, and that's Everin. And Everin does it for her in a bunch of different ways that the crown prince cannot. So she was like, bruh, what am I gonna do? Like, everyone is taking her down through there, but she also knows that she has a duty to his brother and most likely would not survive not being with his brother. And it's just chaotic. And then there's this really big reveal at the end, and it leaves off on a cliffhanger. And the spice was spice. And let me tell you about this spice scene in this book. Everin got a book spine, and he used the spine of a book, and that's all I'm gonna say. Cause I don't, eh. But that book spine put in some work is all I'm gonna say. And that was kind of cute. I was like, okay. I had such a fun time with this. It was a quick read, flew through this, had a good time. I'm gonna keep reading Holiday because she's doing it for me right now. So yeah, that was number 10. Moving along in our number 9 spot, we have The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lindy. And this was cool. So this follows Kierce, our main character, who has had a rough life. Our sis has gone through it, and she has gone up pickpocketing, stealing, and thieving, and she's really, really good at it. And so she ends up getting this job where she goes into this house, and it ends up being the house of a monster named Grave. And the monsters in this world is just a blanket term for vampires, werewolves, warlocks, nymphs, druids, anything that's not a human, they call them monsters. And there's this monster treaty in place to keep the monsters from killing the humans. But if you're caught on their property or you do something, out of line to a monster, they have the right to kill you and there won't be any repercussions for it. So Kyr's is like, oh shit, this is a monster's house. Like, he could kill me. But he doesn't kill her. He offers her a job that would give her the biggest payout she's ever received, set her and her friends up for life. And, it would be great. But of course, it's like also the most dangerous job that she would ever have to pull off. And we kind of go from there. Yeah, I had a good time with this. The romance definitely left me lacking. It ended in such a weird place. And I know this is going to be serious, but I'm like, that's where you're going to leave us off at? Mm. And I also feel like a lot of things that happened in this book were very convenient and very well placed, and you could tell that it was very well placed. But like I said, I had a good time. I ended up rating this like a 3.5. And yeah, moving on to number 8, The Davenports by Crystal Marquis. This was a reread for me, and I ate this up just like I ate it the first time I read it. This was also in the historical romances vlog, and this book, out of all of the books that I read, was the most like Bridgerton. If you're looking for something like that, I would definitely suggest this book. In this book, we follow 4 POVs. The first one being Olivia Davenport. She is the second, she's the oldest daughter, but the second child of the Davenports. And we also follow the youngest Davenport sibling, Helen. We follow Olivia's best friend, Ruby Tremaine. And then we follow Helen and Olivia's maid, Amy Rose. So in these different point of views, there's a lot of different things going on. Olivia, this is her second season out. She's trying to be the perfect daughter and marry into wealth and a good family and be what her family, well, mainly her parents want her to be. And we have Helen, who wants nothing to do with the seasoned society or anything like that. She just wants to help her older brother John run the family business, and she wants to be a mechanic and fix up cars. But that's an issue, especially in this time, because that's not what ladies do. And we have Ruby Tremaine. Her father is running to be the first Black mayor of Chicago, but with that election comes a lot of funds. And so they're a little on the brokish side, but they're trying to keep up appearances. Ruby's family, along with the Davenport parents, want her and John to get married because it would be a good alliance, basically. And also, they've grown up together, so they feel like that's the perfect pairing. And then we have Amy Rose, who grew up alongside the Davenports because her mother worked for them before she passed. And so she's kind of grappling with, okay, I'm not a Davenport. I'm not their family, even though we've grown up that way. And she's trying to figure out, okay, what's my next step? Because if Olivia and Helen get married off soon, the Davenports won't really have a place for me. So she wants to open her own beauty salon. And she also has feelings for John Davenport. So we're just following all of them and their relationships. And this is also set in Chicago in 1910, where you have, Black people just really breaking out and some of them finding wealth, but also the Jim Crow laws happening at the same time and how that is affecting the South and creeping up into affecting the North. And all of those things make this a really interesting book. And I just loved following the different POVs. This is also a YA book, so you don't have to worry about the spice levels that you would get in a Bridgerton book. But this was a fun time. I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. I gave it 4 stars, and yeah, it's just a good time. In the number 7 spot, we have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, the first book in the Regency Fairy Tale series. And this was so cute to me. Like when I first started off reading it, it's also in the historical romance vlog. I was struggling. I didn't like it. I was upset. I was sad because again, I felt like I was really going to like this book. I didn't like the love interest. I didn't know where we were going to go. And all the things. But then halfway through this book, when I tell you it did a 180 and it started giving everything and then some that I wanted, that's what happened. This was so cute. Lord Sorcier. Oh, okay. Maybe before I get to talking about that, maybe I should tell you what the book is about. Okay. So this book is about Theodora, who goes by Dora, and she has half a soul because the other half was taken as a debt that her mother owed this lord, and he came after her. And so she doesn't really feel emotions, and especially not at the height that we do. So she's not really embarrassed about anything or, sad or anything like that. And her cousin Vanessa, they're really close. Vanessa goes to London for the season because her mother is trying to get her married off, and her mother doesn't like Dora, but Vanessa convinces her to bring Dora along so maybe that Dora can get married as well, and it'll be all fine and good. And they run into this Lord Sorcier who is a magician and who becomes interested in Dora's condition after he finds out what's going on. And so we just kind of follow through that, and they're trying to find a cure or a way to get the other half of Dora's soul back. When we first met Lord Sorcier, he was naggy. I hated him. I hated his entrance into the book. But eventually he becomes the sweetest and most perfect love interest for Dora. And the way he just did things for her and made her feel good and like didn't try to change her or make her be like anybody else, and she wasn't trying to change him to be like anybody else. It was so sweet, so funny, and I just had a great time with the second half of this book. But either way, like cute, quirky, fun, had a good time, and 4 stars. 4 stars. In the number 6 spot, we have Evocation by S.T. Gibson. In this, we get 3 POVs, that of David, who is our main character. David is basically occult royalty. He has grown up with the occult society and all of these things. Like he does, I think they're called seances as a side job, and helps people connect with their dead relatives or spouses or whatever. And we also followed David's ex-boyfriend Reese, and they were like college sweethearts. Reese became involved in the occult, and then they just had a really bad situation happen where they broke up, but feelings are still floating around, and they can't just seem to stay away from each other, for lack of a better term. And we also follow Reese's wife Moira, who does more of like root and ancestral magic and gets in touch with spirits in that way, and like astrology and those type of things. David is doing one of his seances or whatever, and something takes over his body, like some kind of weird death spirit, and then he just starts getting sick and he doesn't know what's going on. But he knows that Reese is basically like the occult encyclopedia, and if anybody can help him, it would be Reese. And so he goes to him for help, and of course Reese is very reluctant and doesn't really want to help him because whatever bad situation happened. And eventually they come up with some kind of deal where Reese and Moira will help David for some things in return. I feel like even though this was short, it took us a long time to get to where we needed to be. It took us a long time to figure, like right until the very end of the book, to figure out what's going on with David. If you're going to into this thinking it's going to be like romantic smut, that's not what this is. This is definitely more focused on the fantasy elements and the character relationship elements, but not in like not necessarily a sexual way. There are spicy scenes in this, so you are following more of their relationship and how they interact as a group and what that looks like. But I had a really good time with this. I ended up rating this a 4 star. We are finally cracking into our top 5. And in the number 5 spot, we have Throne of the Fallen by Kerri Maniscalco. And the way this gave, I think this is what Kerri Maniscalco wanted to give us to begin with. She wanted to give us that adult book. Like, this book is raunchy. This book is spicy. This book is crass. And I loved every second of it. For sure. Camilla, love me some Camilla. Love me some Envy. Also, I'm going to set this down because this is a brick. This is heavy. Struggling. So, in this book, we have Prince Envy, and he is in a game with the Unseelie Court King. And in this game, he is trying to get back an artifact because whatever it is, it helps his court, and his court is struggling. Like, all his people are losing their minds to this mental illness or this madness, and he is trying to, of course, hide that from his other brothers and from everyone else in the seven circles. He's going through these games and solving these riddles and whatever else, puzzles, and what he needs to do. And a clue leads him to Camilla, who lives in Waverly Green, and Camilla is an artist. They join forces eventually, and she becomes very important to him in the games. And Amy is like, who is this person, and why is she so important to my game and my court and what I need to do to win? And eventually we find out why. And I was a little let me not lie, I was a lot disappointed in that what I thought was the reveal. And I'm like, y'all drug this out for over probably close to 400 pages, 500 pages for us to get that bull. What? But Kerri tricked us and gave us like a second reveal, and that one gave, and I was happy that I ended up really loving this, and it didn't take me out of the story. So I ended up rating this a 4.5. I just loved everything about this. I had a great time in this world that Kerri Maniscalco has built, and she can write a couple for sure. Like, the chemistry that Wrath and Amelia had was really good in Kingdom of the Wicked series, and then here Camilla and Envy, like, I couldn't even explain to y'all how much I just love Camilla and Envy. So yeah, 4.5. Number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Anna Maria and the Fox by Liana De La Rosa. And this was definitely a surprise for me because I read this for the historical romance vlog, and I thought that I would like it, but I had no idea that I would love this as much as I did. So in this book, we follow Anna Maria, and she is the eldest of 3 daughters. They're sent to London to escape the French occupation of Mexico because her father is really high up on the president of Mexico's list. I think he's like a cabinet position or something like that. So he's hiding out the daughters from the French, and he told them to lay low, don't make waves, just survive. But the uncle who is sponsoring them tells them that they need to get out into society, make friends, let people get to know them so they can see and like humanize Mexicans and show them that this French occupation is indeed bad, and y'all need to help us fix this. Okay, so we have Gideon, whose grandmother escaped slavery, and he is working to abolish the slave trade and to, help the North win the Civil War. And he has made his way into parliament, and he is working, he is on his shit for his goals and to make sure that he is on the right side and pushing for change and for change to happen soon. So these two end up meeting at a ball, and they strike up this friendship, and it eventually turns into a romance, and they both learn things about each other and mainly about themselves. And Ana Maria kind of lets go of her father's expectations. Their father's a piece of shit and has raised them to see each other as almost frenemies instead of sisters, and so they are also learning how to be sisters to each other. And Gideon is learning to relax and to live, and that it's okay to kind of change focus. And that doesn't mean that you aren't going to reach those original goals, but life moves. And this was great. This was an exploration of classism, racism, colorism, all the isms, and it was done in a really great way. And all of these things on top of a really, really cute romance. Like, this was so good. I loved it so much. Yes, this was a great time. I definitely think more people need to pick this up because it was just so good. So 4.5 stars, number 4 on our list. And now we are into our top 3. And y'all, this book at the number 3 spot shook me. I was not expecting this book to be as good as it was, or for me to like it as much as I did, but here we are. And that is Truly, Madly, Deeply by Alexandria Bellefleur. And y'all, this is so good. Okay, let me tell you about it. So we have Truly, who has a reputation for being like a hopeless romantic. She's a romance author, and so she just believes in true love and that everybody's gonna have that person. But then she walks in on her fiance cheating on her, and so that kind of like upends her world. But that happens on the morning of the day she's supposed to do a podcast, where on this show they're going to have like a romantic type and a realist type. And she's like, how am I supposed to go on the show and talk about love when my world just like upended and I don't even know what I believe about love anymore? But she goes anyway. Let me just read what the synopsis says. That would help. It says Colin's view on love just pisses Truly off, even if he does have an annoyingly attractive face. Bickering with a cynical divorce lawyer is the last thing she needs, so she walks out with no plans to return. And a few days later, Colin tracks her down, asking for a fresh start. Truly can't deny the thrill she gets from seeing Colin beg, so she reluctantly agrees. And as they go from enemies to friends to something else entirely, Truly discovers they have more in common than she ever imagined, including their shared queerness. He is a genuinely good guy, charming, sweet, and equally as unlucky in love as she is. And there's something about Colin that drives Truly a little wild. Let me tell you about Colin. Colin begs for Truly, like down on his knees, in between her legs, might I add, and begs for her. What do you mean, Colin? We love to see it. And Colin also likes to be told what to do. That was my favorite part of this book. Like, their relationship, like their back and forth was cute, but it's the way that Colin was down bad for Truly from jump. Like, he was down bad, and I love to see me in down bad. If this sounds like something that you would enjoy, I really want more people to pick this up because I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about it. But I ended up giving this a 4.5 star. This was good. This was sweet. This was spicy. This was everything. And then so pick this book up. I think I had the hardest decision between our number 2 and number 1 spot. Like, I went back and forth for a minute, But I finally decided that The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields would take our number two spot. And I have not shut up about this book since I picked it up. And I'm going to keep screaming about this book because it was just so good. This is like an adult cottage core fantasy romance, cozy, amazing situation. Sapphic, all the things. Marigold has always preferred the company of meadow spirits to the suitors who tried to woo her. So when her grandmother whisked her away to the tiny Isle of Innisfree with an offer to train her as the next honey witch, she accepts immediately. But her newfound magic and independence comes with a price. No one can fall in love with the Honey Witch. Then Lottie Burke, a notoriously grumpy skeptic, shows up on her doorstep, and Marigold can't resist the challenge to prove to her that magic is real, even at the risk of losing her home and her heart. Y'all, this was so good. It was so good. I had a great time with this. And this also is like in the Regency era as well, which I didn't know going in. But yeah, if you are looking for that, they do go to like some balls and all of those types of things that happens in Regency romances. So try this too. And y'all, there's this one spicy scene, and if you've read this, then you know. But Sydney J. Shields did not have to end that scene like that. It was so unexpected and so abrupt and so rude and so also funny. Like, it's not funny, but it was funny to me because I'm like, did she really just do that to us? Like, I don't know. I love this book. This is for sure going to be one of my favorite books of the year, and it is added to one of my favorite books of all time. Like, I can't even pick this book up. If you are like a cottage core cozy vibe and you just want to like, chill, this is so good. I love this book so much. And then finally moving into our number one spot for June and July, we have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Kweke Emezi. And y'all, this was the way I don't even have words for what this was. This was messy, all caps, number one. This was beautiful. This was funny. This was everything. Everything. If you want to feel all of the emotions in one book, here you go. Akweki put their whole foot in this book. So it's about Faye who wants to learn how to be alive again. It's been 5 years since the accident that killed the love of her life, and she's almost a new person now, an artist with her own studio, sharing a brownstone apartment with her best friend Joy, who insists it's time for Faye to ease back into the dating scene. Faye isn't ready for anything serious, but a steamy encounter at a rooftop party cascades into a whirlwind summer she could have never imagined. A luxury trip to a tropical island, decadent meals in the glamorous home of a celebrity chef, and a major curator who wants to launch her art career. She's even started dating the perfect guy, but their new relationship might be sabotaged before it has a chance by the dangerous thrill Faye feels every time she locks eyes with the one person in the house who's most definitely off limits, his father. How far is Faye willing to go for a second chance at love? What you mean you want to your boyfriend's daddy? I mean, it ain't her boyfriend, like they're just dating, but like, you like this man, daddy? Oh my God. Oh my God. It was so raw and so messy. And I could kind of relate to Faye in this because we are around the same age. And I can tell you that I have been messy when breakups or just bad things have happened around, like, so the fact that her partner, her love of her life, died. If I lost Lex right now, this is not even close to the amount of mess I would be starting and the mess that I would be. So like I got it, but like that's that man dead. And that's not even the worst part. Like Faye was a complete and total mess in this, and this explores grief in such a beautiful and heartbreaking way. And it would be a sad book, but then we got Joy, who offers the best comedic relief ever. Joy came into the book on 10, and every time she opened her mouth, every time she was on my page, I was laughing my ass off. Like she is hilarious. She was real. She was calling Faye out on her bullshit. Like, why was this not longer? This needed to be longer. I need more. Like, this is so good. This book gonna find its way into every type of recommendation possible because everybody needs to read this book. If you haven't read this book, you need to pick this book up because Quakey did their big one in the biggest way, and this is like amazing, amazing, amazing. Read this book. And that's it, y'all. We made it. We have ranked the 15 books that I have read in June and July. We have discussed the DNFs. We have gone through the stats, and there ain't nothing else to do. I'm tired of talking. Y'all probably tired of listening to me. So thank you for taking time to watch this video and have a great day. If you have any recommendations based on what I thought of these books, always feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you have read any of these, let me know what you thought. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let's chat about it. And have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.